Welcome to my holiday course, and I have divided it into 3 sections. You are welcome to watch them all or just the topic that pertains to you. You can also keep them for future use. When another situation in your life occurs, you may need to refer to these themes. So 20 minutes of feeling blue, we're going to talk about sadness, depression, and loneliness. 20 minutes of stress and overwhelm, we're going to talk about feeling out of control, stress, and overwhelm. And 20 minutes of disappointment, talking about at the holidays or any time in our life when people don't do what we want, things don't go our way, and how to handle that. So loneliness is a reality in life, and we're going to experience it at some point. So we don't want to fight reality. When we fight with reality, then we end up being frustrated, angry, and even sadder. So we want to keep the level of sadness down. Again, we want to admit how we're feeling, and it's okay to feel whatever you feel, and we want to process it, but we want to move forward, okay? And there are things we can ask ourselves. Now, of course, everyone's going to have a different answer to this question based on a lot of factors, right? Personality, circumstances, just maybe some biological makeup, if you tend to be more of a melancholic personality or not, okay? Now, here are some questions we can ask ourselves. Is it true? Is it true that you are lonely? Okay, what does that mean? Well, it might be true that you're surrounded by a lot of people and you feel lonely. And again, it is okay. And so we want to process that. And whatever you need to feel that emotion, go for a walk, deep breaths. Some people just close their eyes. I do that a lot and need to think about it. Some people need a lot of time. Some people don't. Some people can just kind of process quickly. You can journal. I think it's always great to write stuff down, but it doesn't work for everyone. But I think that's a good one. And you can go back and look at it and see how you processed it if you feel this way again in the future. So all those things are helpful when we're dealing with that feeling. But again, at some point, we want to get past it. And we can even ask ourselves when we're feeling that pain of loneliness, if it's true. And this one, it took me a little bit to get to when I first found life coaching, because I was convinced that whatever I was feeling was true. But then I was able to see, in other people, adults, but definitely in children, because it's just so easy to use the children as examples because they act like kids. And we can see it more clearly in them. So do your kids ever say things that are not true? Like, you always make me do all the work. Okay, pretty funny, right? We're just laughing. It's not true. You never let me go with my friends, okay? So always and never are never good to use. And we know that when someone says always or never at the beginning of a sentence, we're pretty much going to discredit them and just go, whatever you're saying is probably not true, because unless we're talking about the sky is always blue, or my hair is always this color unless I dye it, or I'm always 5'1", there's very few things that we can say that about when we're talking in this realm of emotions. We're usually talking about subjective truths and relative ideas and feelings and perceptions of people and their personality and situations and what's coming from your perspective. And so that's not really an always never situation. And so we don't want to do the always and the never, okay? Now we can laugh when our kids do it, but then we go and do it to ourselves, especially when we're hurting, okay? We kind of go back to that childlike state, and sometimes we can be immature and throw little fits. Even if we know not to fall on the floor and cry, we might be doing it inside. So is it true? So a little bit more about that. You're feeling lonely. Is it true? Okay. Maybe someone just died. Maybe you're quarantining and can't go to an event. Maybe the person you want to see is sick and you feel a loneliness because there's an absence there. Maybe your husband is ignoring you. Maybe you feel neglected by friends, unappreciated by your boss. So maybe there is a disconnect. Maybe we could all look at your situation, whoever you are, whatever you're feeling, and maybe all of us in the world would agree. Maybe we can prove that you are alone in some way. You're not feeling the intimacy, the connection. Okay. But is it true always and everywhere? Are you never without friends? Are you never without family? You never without neighbors, coworkers, classmates? So we want to take the always and never and challenge it. And again, it's okay to feel loneliness because of all those things I listed before, and to process that and to do what you need to do and take the time you need. You don't want to deny reality, okay? We don't want to lie to ourselves. This isn't telling ourselves it's fine when it's not. This isn't fake happiness. This isn't forcing happiness. This isn't denying our feelings, okay? It's not overindulging in them either. We don't want to go to the point where we're hurting ourselves more. Okay? You might genuinely be in pain. You might genuinely be hurting, but you could be making it worse. And we don't want to do that to ourselves. So for your own mental health, for your own growth, for your own peace and happiness, for your own well-being, okay, and really your physical health, because we know our mental health is connected. For you, you want to stop. And I think sometimes for me, I don't know about you all, when someone has hurt me or I'm feeling lonely or something isn't going my way, I want to hold on to it out of some sort of justice towards myself. Like, it is so bad, and I'm going to prove how bad it is by repeating it and feeling it over and over and over. Okay? That can be hard for the people around you. So that's damaging to them. But it's also damaging to me. Okay? It's also damaging to yourself if you are overindulging in that loneliness. Okay, so at some point, we have to take responsibility for how we feel. Now, I'm not saying you're responsible. Maybe you're in a relationship, you're dating, you broke up, and you had nothing to do with that, okay? And so it's not your fault. Maybe someone died. Of course, that's no one's fault. You control how you feel. Okay, so you need to look for ways that you're not lonely. You need to come up with some hopeful thoughts for the future. You need to think about the past and when it was good. Okay? It's okay, is another thought. It's okay. Okay, let's say we went through a lot of challenging, is it true? And you didn't get anything good out of that question. We can move on to it's okay. Someone died, and it is true, and you are lonely. Okay, so that is it true is like just not working for someone in that grieving. It's okay to feel alone, because if someone's passed, a part of you is gone, that relationship you had is gone, that, depending on who it was, let's say a friend, you being their friend is gone, their being your friend is gone, maybe activities you did with them is gone. So that is a loss. It's okay. Okay, so we're going to feel that. What I'm saying is it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Something's wrong with you. God doesn't have a plan for your life. You're always going to be lonely. It doesn't have, you don't want to have attached meanings to that feeling. That's what makes it worse. It makes suffering and pain worse. We continue to feel negative. We start with our feeling, in this case, loneliness, and then we attach meanings to it. Okay, so we want to just stay in the loneliness. It's okay. And what I mean by it's okay to feel that is that we are not meant to always be happy. Okay, so you see someone today on social media, and of course they're posting the best picture, but we know what it takes to have a family photo with children. Christmas pictures are happening right now, and we know what that takes. Okay, how many hours of editing and how much money did you spend on those photos? Okay, I have professional photos. That's how my Christmas card is this year. It's a professional photo that's been edited. Okay, it's also just a moment in time. The actual picture was just a few seconds of my life, which was 24 hours that day times the 365 days of this year. Okay, it is not an indication of how I'm feeling or experiencing life for this whole year. I know we all know this, and it's almost like so stupid to say it out loud, and yet our brains don't think these things. Like, we're not thinking rationally, and when we're in an emotional state, we're definitely not thinking rationally. But if we're leading with the emotion first, or if we're just on social media for a few seconds, the brain is tricking us. You know, we see 25-second TikTok video, whatever that person did, and those are also edited and fake. You know, we all know we're not going to see it on social media. So when you start to feel yourself feeling depressed by looking at people who don't look lonely on social media, just remember at some point they've been lonely. Maybe not today, maybe not yesterday, but they've been lonely. I guarantee you everyone's felt lonely this year. I think everyone felt lonely in 2020. Okay? All the time. The whole year. Because even though I'm in my house with 7 other people, now I'm in a house with 8, but in 2020 I was in the house with 7 other people, and for a while a friend and her daughter stayed, so that was actually 9 other people, and I also felt lonely because I didn't have certain girlfriends. I didn't have my sister, you know, my priest friends, and the people that in the house with me were great, and I'm not complaining because I wasn't alone. It wasn't all bad. A lot of it was good. But there were times where I felt lonely. So even if it was just for a few minutes, everyone feels lonely. So let's talk about sadness. Okay, so this is just a general feeling. And I think when we talk about feeling blue, we are really talking about sadness. I added these other 2 here because I think they are also their own experience, because loneliness has its own feel and its own reasons behind it, as well as depression goes into, you know, a mental health diagnosis. So sadness, again, is an emotion that we all feel, and we all will feel at some time. We all have felt, okay? And that's more of what we think of when we talk about feeling blue. But I wanted to have its own category because it can be just a practical one, okay? You might just be sad because you haven't slept enough. Do you ever have a moment where your child just has a meltdown and you're like, you're just tired? And sometimes my husband will say, just go to sleep, okay? Being sleep deprived through pregnancies and through nursing infants. You know, I've pretty much been one of those categories for most of our marriage. And it's been almost 15 years now. And so I know sometimes when I'm tired, I'll just feel sad, as I tend to have more of a sad disposition to some things. Okay, here's some things we can ask ourselves. Did I have enough water? Have I exercised? Do I need the sun? Do I need to write maybe in a journal? Am I deficient in a vitamin? Okay, these are just some practical things. Now, this is not mind management, and this might sound silly to you, but when you are in this feeling, what we teach in life coaching is that we manage our minds, but we also have to know about the brain, and brain science has taught us that, you know, we have the amygdala, we have the hippocampus, we have all these different centers, and they work differently and they affect us differently. And when we are stressed, when we are in a fight or flight mode because of an intense emotion, we are not using our problem solving brain. We're not using our thinking brain. Okay, we're just in the feeling. Okay, so when you have this strong feeling, you do need someone. And I am more than happy to pay my coach to help me to manage that emotion and to get into problem solving mode, because I was spinning out of control for years in motherhood. Overall, I had a good life. I was happy, and not just from the outside and the inside. I really was a joyful person. But I think when it came to just the negative things like stress and overwhelm and depression and sadness, I would just spin in these emotions, and I needed someone other than a psychologist who was going to dig into the past. I needed someone in the moment to just say, stop and let's move forward. Okay, so this is what I love about life coaching, and we can talk about these problem solving tools now because we've stopped ourselves in this emotion just in order to help ourselves move forward, okay? You can let yourself feel it again, just like I said with loneliness, it's okay. We can feel sad and we might not even know why. We might never get to what we're sad about. That's okay. What can you think that will change the sadness? Okay, can you change your thought? Okay, so this is a basic idea of cognitive behavioral therapy, and this is really where all my training comes from, and what I focus on is that our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings create our actions, okay? So we always think it's what my dad said, it's what my brother did, it's what my husband did, it's what my child did, it's what the traffic did, it's the weather, it's the job, it's my PMS, okay? Of course, those things affect us. We're not alone on an island somewhere just thinking and feeling things. But what are we thinking about all those situations? Okay, it's our brains and our beliefs and our minds about these situations that makes us feel a certain way. So how do you feel differently? You don't want to feel sad, then you want to think differently. So take out your scrap piece of paper, or if you're a journaler, take out your journal and start writing. What are thoughts you can have to not feel sad? Okay, some ideas. I feel sad right now and it's okay. The sadness will pass. Yesterday I felt happy when ... Tomorrow I'm looking forward to this exciting moment. A feeling of joy I had recently was ... Okay, I'm hopeful for the future because... Okay, so let's think differently and then feel differently. All right, now moving on to depression. Okay, so yes, you might be diagnosed with depression. I was a mild case. I think half the population, at least in the United States, is. It might be more than that. Okay, I do take an antidepressant. I take a low dose, and I don't have anything to say about it because I'm not a psychologist and I'm not your doctor. I can't prescribe. I'm not a psychiatrist. So nothing about a value or an opinion on this, but just my experience. It was biological, but it was also situational. I found that when I had gratitude and when I recognized that depressed feelings are okay sometimes, and when I asked, am I loving myself? Am I supporting myself? Am I giving grace to myself and to others? I trying to be positive about what I can, trying to look for the good. Again, your brain will look for evidence for whatever you're already believing. So I'm trying to see my husband, see my kids in a positive light. I'm trying to give them grace with their mistakes, but also love them and look for the positive, okay? If I keep saying, it's not going well, my marriage isn't going well, my parenting isn't going well, my coaching business isn't going well, okay? Am I looking for all the reasons that they're not? Or can I find some evidence that they are? Can I try my best to change my thoughts and then change my feelings, okay? You can feel depressed, okay? So I'm not saying that having the diagnosis of depression is okay, although I do believe that too. But I'm saying that having a mental health depressive disorder, let's say, and just feeling depressed once are different, obviously, okay? So we need to think about that. So let's talk about disappointment. I think it's fitting that after I wrote out all my notes, my 2-year-old messed it up. So I'm just going to leave it there because it kind of fits with the theme. Okay, let's ask ourselves, are our expectations realistic? Okay, this might be an obvious one, but sometimes we forget when we're disappointed. Because again, if we are not training our minds or if we have a moment where we're just not doing the mind management thought work, we might think, oh, it's the circumstance, it's the person, it's the thing happening outside of me that's making me feel this way. But no, it's our thoughts, right? Okay, so let's examine our thoughts. Are our thoughts true? Are they helpful? Okay, so when we have unmet expectations, and if we think and hope something's going to happen that's just not realistic or hasn't really ever happened in the past, we're going to be disappointed. So let's help ourselves, okay? Let's prepare for the best holiday we can, and any big event coming up or any life event where you think you might experience a disappointment, or in any relationship where you're feeling disappointed, let's do this. Let's ask ourselves if we have expectations and what are they. Okay, let's spend some time being honest, because sometimes it's not till after the fact we realize what our expectations were. Okay, now sometimes we need to communicate them to the person. Now, of course, if it's a spouse and someone you live with and every single day and for years, hopefully in the future, you want to express your expectations if they're realistic, if there's something you think makes sense to tell your spouse or your children. Okay, but people outside your home, especially people that you might only see on Christmas, or maybe you haven't seen for a while because of COVID, or for whatever reason you don't live with them. Okay, this could even be coworkers. You might see them often, but again, you only have so much interest, and they can only really be expected to meet your expectations so much. Okay, we can only ask so much from them. Let's ask ourselves, can we even express our expectations to this person? So we need to spend a little bit of prep time before the event happens. Okay, we need to ask ourselves, what are expectations? Are there expectations I can communicate with this person? Is that fair? What's realistic for them? What's realistic for me? Again, if you start to say, this is what I expect from you, or what I expect this day or this event, they might come back with their expectations. Or am I ready to hear those? Okay, so we have to ask ourselves all these things. And then before the event happens, we are at least aware of what we're thinking. Okay, so we don't just go in blind, hoping and expecting it's going to be better or different, and that's just unrealistic. Okay, and then surprised that it doesn't happen the way we thought or hoped. Okay, and are they realistic? We really have to challenge ourselves on that. Now, there might be some things you think are realistic because you would do them, or you do them, or you think everyone should do them even if you don't do them. Okay, and it's great to have expectations in that sense. It's great to have standards. Of course, we need boundaries. I mean, there are things that people can do that are abusive and mean, to the extreme of being illegal and harmful and hurtful, all the way to just annoying. There are things we can expect not to happen, or not want to happen, or maybe should not happen. Okay, but again, are they in the realm of reality? Okay, I'm going to jump way ahead to this line that I think sums up everything, but I wanted to begin and end with it. Is the best indicator of future behavior is past performance. Okay, so of course people can change, we can change, and that's what we're always trying to do here with life coaching, is change our thoughts, change our feelings, change our actions. But really, if you don't have a reason to believe that a person or situation is going to be different from the last time you were experiencing it, we should just expect the same outcome. Okay, whatever happens in the future is going to be probably what happened in the past. Okay, if your kid is always throwing a fit before bed, we're not going to be surprised on the 8th, 9th, or the 8th week, or the 8th month of that nightly fit, right? Okay, of course, that doesn't mean we let it be. That doesn't mean we accept the behavior. That doesn't mean that we put up with the behavior. Sometimes we do have to accept, and sometimes you even have to put up with behavior. Okay, depending on if it's a child, an adult, who that relationship may be, how much control we have over it. But we should also be prepared. Okay, the past performance is usually going to be a good indicator, if not the best indicator, of those future behaviors. Okay, so the main thought is people don't do what we want. Yeah, what a bummer. Wouldn't it be nice that people just did what we wanted? Just doesn't happen. So everyone has free will, and we can't control anyone. So we want to plan. Are you planning? Okay, that's what you can do. You can plan. You can say, Uncle Joe always makes jokes that are just so obnoxious, sometimes inappropriate, sometimes a little weird, sometimes a bit too much. He's going to do it again. Not surprised. My sister Sarah is always going to complain about the other family members and want me to jump in with her, and then I have to think of something to say because I don't want to complain and gossip. No. We're going to go into it knowing Sister Sarah always does this. So get ready. Plan ahead. Aunt Bethany. Oh, I love Aunt Bethany, the character in Christmas Vacation. Okay, so the old Aunt Bethany. She's going to guilt trip you. She's going to want you to stay all day. She's going to want you to come early. She's going to expect you to buy certain things. She's going to have certain things for you. The same gifts she gets you every year that you don't really like. She gets those soaps and lotions that you're never going to use. It's okay. Plan ahead. You're going to be gracious and thankful for what you get. You're going to use them or not. You're going to donate them to a women's shelter. You're going to give them to your daughter. You're going to keep them out for guests. We're not going to get upset about it because she gives those soaps to you and those lotions every year. Okay? She's going to want you to be there all day. Of course, you have your family first, and you have to think about what you need to do for your own children, what your spouse needs with his side of the family. And so if she's disappointed, that's okay. But plan that she's probably going to guilt trip you. And don't be, I can't believe she guilt tripped me again. Really? You can't? She does it every time. And she's done it your whole life. So let's not be surprised, okay? Let's plan ahead. Let's have some expectations and maybe try to get those out and try to have some tough conversations. Or let's decide not to, but then realize this is the expectation I have. No one outside of me knows because I didn't voice it that I have it. So I'm going to be realistic that probably isn't going to happen, okay? Let's say that there's an expectation that is realistic, something that happens every year that you like, okay? So let's do the opposite. There's an expectation you don't voice because it always happens. Let's say every year Aunt Mildred has a cookie exchange, okay? Every year, and you expect that. It's a good thing. And you're not voicing it because it's always happening. It happens every year. You don't need to tell her, and you don't need to get out of it because you want to do it, okay? Aunt Mildred decides because of COVID, she's just not going to see anyone. And you think, well, that's stupid, okay? Now, you might be right. You also might be wrong, okay? And it doesn't really matter, actually. Aunt Mildred is allowed to do that because Aunt Mildred is an adult. And you're not her parent. You're allowed to be upset. And Aunt Mildred has to allow you to be upset. Aunt Mildred can't expect you to feel how she feels about COVID or think how she thinks. She's allowed to not like your opinion or your actions, but she has to let you do what you want. But again, she doesn't want you at her house. You can't go to her house for the cookie exchange, okay? So we go back to planning, okay? Let's not just mope and pout about it until the day of the cookie exchange. Well, that's not going to do anything. Unless you've decided, it's really emotional and symbolic and I just want to mope about it. Okay, but tell yourself, I've decided to mope about it and I'm allowed to be sad. I'm going to be sad. Okay? Don't be surprised when no one else offers to host the cookie exchange. Reach out to someone who doesn't have family or friends. Ask them if they want to start a cookie exchange. Maybe they want to host it. Reach out to your mom's group. Reach out to younger moms than you who are running around like chickens with their heads cut off because they have babies and they don't have older kids to help do anything. Bring your older children, your teenagers to help be a mother's helper to her. Bake cookies with her. Let her have some time off, some mom time. Okay? Seek out someone you can help. You can still get that cookie exchange experience you want. You can still bless yourself. And I'm not saying it's wrong for you to want to do certain traditions, or it's wrong for you to want to have fun, or for you to look for something that you enjoy. But sometimes those things just don't happen. It's life. On this side of heaven, it's just sometimes sucks. We are just disappointed. Things just don't go our way. So how can you reach out to someone else and make that happen for you and them? How can you focus on someone else? Get that focus off yourself. Just get out of that pity party mode. Okay? Because there's various levels of this, right? There's extreme sadness, like we talked about in the first video, all the way to just petty, I don't like the wrapping paper my husband picked out, okay? But you could be disappointed about the wrapping paper. That's okay, okay? We have to realize, though, that that's not this level of your grandparents have passed, and now they're not with you this Christmas, okay? Now, you might be laughing listening to this, but we don't sit back and think about our thinking, okay? And sometimes we just need someone on the outside of us to point out what we're all thinking. Now, I'm only saying this because I do this too, right? I know this because this goes on in my brain, okay? This goes on everyone's brain. So if you haven't ever heard anyone talk to you about these things before, don't think that this is just you and you're the only person in the world watching this video. I sure hope a lot of people have paid for this course. At least 2 or 3, but everyone thinks this way, regardless of whether or not they're watching this video, okay, to some extent in one of those levels of disappointment, okay, one of those degrees. We're all thinking things expecting things, longing for things. That's just how we were made. Okay. The second point I want to talk about, the idea that things don't go our way. Well, that's disappointing. I wrote do. So we'll just leave it there because it goes with the theme. I'm disappointed in my inability to edit my own piece of paper. Okay, things don't go our way. It's a lot like people, but I feel like when people don't do what we want, we tend to get mad at them and make it about them. And then it's a relationship problem. So on top of the cookies, the wrapping paper, the death, you are now making it a relationship problem. Okay? Aunt Bethany is the problem, not having the cookie exchange. Sister Sarah is now the problem. And then there's a sister problem. Okay? And then that branches out because you complained to your husband about her or your mom. And then there's a mother-daughter problem, a spouse problem. Okay, or maybe you complain in front of the kids and then that's their aunt. So you've got that. They look at her that way now. So we're making relationship issues with different people that we don't need to make. We don't need to bring these relationships into these things that aren't going our way. Okay, now sometimes no one's fault at all the weather. Okay, snowstorm. Nobody comes to your New Year's or Christmas Eve event. Okay, let's do Christmas Eve because I know there's a lot of people of different ethnicities, Italian and different groups where they do the 7 fishes or it's like 12-course meal or 7-course meal, I'm not sure. And that's a lot of work. I've always thought how cool to do that one time, but I've looked at the list and no one in my family would eat any of it except one fish. So I don't know, we just never did it. But I'd like someone to invite me to one once. Maybe when I'm old and my kids are all moved out and I have nowhere to go, me and my husband can find someone to take us in. No one wants to invite 10 people anywhere. But, we tend to host, so I know how it is. The anticipation of the guests, the excitement. You might buy decorations. You might buy presents for your guests. We like to write their names on plates, set the table. It takes a long time because the house is always a hot mess. We got to clean for days. And I can imagine if a snowstorm stopped people from coming. Oh, I think for me, it would be hearing my kids complain. I can't handle when kids whine, complain. I don't like people complaining. It's really bothering me, and that's something I have to work on because people complain, especially children. Not allowing them to just be obnoxious and brats, but to not make it mean something. I make it mean something, and I get real irked by it. So that's something I'm working on. And when play dates get canceled, when babysitters, grandparents, family members cancel for whatever reason, sickness, they lose it. They really love people coming over. That's normal, right? They just haven't learned how to regulate it or to see past it or to problem solve. Okay, but we're adults, okay? And we can. Honestly, I don't know why in my mind I don't have a plan A and B. I just always assume everyone's coming. And for the most part, I guess, of course, there's always, those events where one person or 2 people are sick, but I don't think there's ever been a time where no one showed. I guess it's kind of an extreme case, but because of COVID, that can't happen. I know that's happened to a lot of people. Last year, our family was distancing, and so we just went into it knowing we had to go to our friends. We went to one friend's for Christmas Eve, and their whole family was there. They weren't distancing. And we went to another friend's for Christmas Day. Now their family was distancing, so it was just a friend day. So, our family looked different. Our extended family, our friends on Christmas Eve, their family was different than the friends on Christmas Day's family, extended family. And then we were both in both places, not at our house, which we usually host, like I said. But to have someone want to have our big family over was huge. No one ever invites us, And I shouldn't say that because we never say never. People discredit what you say when you use always and never. But we always think, oh gosh, there's a lot of us and, a lot of little kids and a lot of mess and a lot of food that you need to get for us. So the fact that we could be a part of someone's Christmas was really exciting. And I decided to look at it that way. Now my kids, they didn't quite get there. They'd rather host. They'd rather be with our extended family. But they also either forgot about it or we're just focusing on the negative last year, because just the other day they asked if we were going to go back to that friend's house for Christmas Eve and the other friend's house for Christmas Day, that they really actually did like it. So who knows, in the moment, are they just whining because it's easier to whine, complaining because they know mom will listen, or they noticed what was missing, what they're used to, but now they can take a step back, or maybe they've matured in that year to appreciate the good. Maybe they thought, hey, I didn't have to clean. I just went to someone's house, showed up, there was food. What? So I don't know what, they probably wouldn't be able to explain it because they're young. But again, it's good to have a plan to know how you're going to respond. Okay. Ask yourself, and these are good for journaling. So I hope you've been taking notes. If not, go ahead. You can pause it. Just grab whatever scrap piece of paper is lying around. But if you have a journal, get that and a pen. Let's ask, what is in your control? Okay, so people aren't in our control. We don't like to think about this, but like most things, actions, circumstances, situations are not in our control. I know I brought up the weather. It's pretty obvious. There's a lot of things, right? COVID showed us that. So sicknesses, who gets sick, if you get sick, how people respond to getting sick, how people think of germs, masks, who has what rule, where, when, why, how. Okay, so much can't control. There's a lot here, and I think it's a gray area. So you have to maybe jot this down in your journal and think about this for yourself. But some things that come to my mind are gifts. Unless someone's asked you what you want or your kids want, you can't control what they buy. Now, you can control what you do with the gift after. If you've seen any of my videos on Facebook, I have some on clutter. I spoke to a women's group at a church about decluttering. I love decluttering, and you would never know because there's so much stuff in my house. And if you know me, I don't like to shop, and I don't really ever spend money. I just like secondhand hand-me-downs, and I don't know where the stuff comes from, but there's so much stuff. And I go to Clothing Crusade is a nonprofit a friend has. I drop off clothes to her constantly, and Salvation Army's down the road. They know my van. And I'm not really mean mom. It's just, we can't see the carpet. Just so much stuff. Okay. So you can't control, maybe what someone's purchasing. That's their money, what they wrapped. If they didn't ask you, and they even could have asked you and then still said, I'm not buying that. So we don't control what people do. But of course, it's our home. So what does come into our home, we control that. Okay, so we don't really open the gift fully and start playing with it. I don't like that, because I often like to put all the gifts from birthdays and Christmas into storage. I have them play with it little by little. It's just too overwhelming, overstimulating for me. I think the kids get just overstimulated, bombarded with stuff and plastic, especially when they're little, and trash and opening all the gifts and the wrapping. So it's nice to have that excitement of Christmas, of opening the new toy, and I might keep it, and they might get to play with it, but just not all in one day, not all of it. What else can you control? You can control what you eat. You might think you can't, because there's those amazing charcuterie boards everywhere now, and they're so good. And the cookie exchange, going back to that, there's cookies everywhere. Your favorite desserts, maybe you love pumpkin pie, maybe you just want that peppermint mocha, maybe you want to go get that sugary drink at Starbucks, maybe you want to buy the Christmas themed creamer, or your favorite chocolate so-and-so brings over. And you might think people are forcing you, but no one is forcing your mouth open and making you eat those things. Okay. You can also control what your kids eat. Again, that's a hard one, because other people think they can control your children's diet, or they try to, especially out of love. I think misguided love, but a lot of people like to give kids treats, so that's going to happen. So again, we want to have our plans. We want to be planning ahead. We want to have expectations. We're not going to get angry when so-and-so brings out the cookies for the 10th time, because they do it every year. Okay, so we either decide we're going to eat healthy the day before we go to that junk food house, or we take healthy food there, or we tell our kids our rule and we stick to it. You're the parent and you do control the rules of the house. And so it's up to you, though, how firm you want to be on that, because then it's sometimes fighting with other people. And if you're not ready for that, tell yourself, I decided I'm not going to fight with so-and-so. It's 1 day out of the year, 3 days out of the year. They can have a ton of sugar. Okay? It's not the best thing for them, but hey, I'm not doing this every day. I'm not doing this most days. I'm not even doing it once a month. So have at it, kids. Okay? But just, again, prepare ahead, because we don't want to be deciding in the moment when you, fight or flight response. You don't have your thinking right on. You're in the amygdala. Or in the moment, you have 2 seconds to answer. They want a yes or no. Can she have 12 cookies? What? Do you need an answer to that? Shouldn't everyone know? No, some people don't know the answer to that. Some people don't believe that obesity and heart disease are a problem. Okay? Some people think you're a crazy health nut for not wanting your kids to be overweight and type 1 diabetes. Or is that type 2? Sorry, type 2. Some people don't care about that. Or maybe they do, but they think about showing their love in that way more than what your concerns are for the health. And how to deal. Okay, so people, situations, how we deal. Okay, we already talked about this a little bit, but to go more into detail with the planning, how about a plan A and a plan B? Okay, plan A, we go to Lowe's, we get white Christmas lights because I don't like red and green lights, and we come home, we put them on the house. Okay, plan A, ixnay on the plan A, because it's too cold, kids won't help, husband doesn't want to do it, it's way too expensive to hire someone to do it, you're pregnant and you can't be on a ladder, they're all out of white lights, they're somewhere on the cargo ship stuck in the water. Okay, we're not gonna freak out in Lowe's. Okay, not because you're not allowed to freak out, and not because you're not allowed to want white lights, and not because you're crazy for having an emotion, but because when we step back and with our thinking brain we think, is not having white lights a catastrophe? Okay, am I using the cognitive distortion, catastrophizing? Or am I thinking logically here? I'm disappointed. Oh, that's a bummer. Okay, our kids are going to watch us. We're going to model for them. We're sad. We're disappointed. Okay, I knew. Now, we don't do this every time we go to the grocery store. Okay, I don't go in every time. If there's no Caesar salad, I have a plan B to have spinach. And I don't lose it in my head even. I don't ever lose it in the grocery store. All the kids do. But I don't lose it in my head because I'm at the grocery store all the time, and the grocery store is mundane, and there's 12 other grocery stores, and they're open all day, every day, and some are 24/7, and it's salad, who cares? But Christmas has that extra weight to it. Okay, we come with our childish emotions. We come childish sometimes. We show up as children. We go back to being an 8-year-old little girl who wanted the house to look like Dad did, and that's just the way it has to be. Or we want it to be perfect for our children. We might want to make it better than what we had, or we might not even care about making it what we had or better than what we had. We might just be comparing ourselves to the lady across the street who has the best decorations, or everyone else down the road is putting their lights up and they look this way. Okay, so whatever meaning we attach to it, okay, because it is a big holiday and it has meaning attached to it, and we make it mean things, what we're doing, all these activities. So it might not be lights for you, it might be that recipe that you try to recreate every year from grandma, great grandma, that your sister-in-law does better than you. It might be the way you decorate, like I said with the lights. It might be who can do the best gift at the gift exchange. Okay, whatever you've decided has a meaning and stresses you out. Okay, so You can have a plan B. You could hang wreaths up in the windows because you don't want to do the red lights or the green lights or colored lights. Or you could maybe look on Facebook Marketplace and just know you're going to have to find some used lights that might not work for the whole season. Or there might be one bulb out and they eventually go out on Christmas Day. And don't be surprised by that because they're used. Okay, or you find that Aunt Mildred who isn't going to have you over and you say, hey, do you have white lights? I don't want to take them from you. I want to make your white lights look nice. And I know you're not feeling well or you're worried about germs, so we'll just stay outside. The husband, the kids, and I will decorate your house with white lights. So you can still incorporate that tradition or that activity that you have a strong emotion about and help someone and serve someone else and do something for someone outside of your home. Because I understand that certain traditions are meaningful. I like to make gingerbread houses. I like caroling. But sometimes my kids don't want to make gingerbread houses, and some of my kids don't like to sing. So how can I still do what I want in a realistic way that's reasonable for everyone around me, but I can also get either a need or a desire fulfilled for myself? So again, I have a plan, but I'm flexible, okay? It's not white lights only, white lights this day, white lights for 2 weeks, and there's no flexibility around the color, the time, the amount. Okay, that's just not good for you, for your children. We want to have our own backs. We want to have support for ourselves, but we can't support ourselves if we're being so inflexible that it's unhealthy. And just remind yourself of coping strategies. Remind yourself that things aren't going to go your way and people aren't going to do what you want. And remind yourself that the future is best predicted by someone's past performance. That goes for you, that goes for me, that goes for all of us. So we hope for things to get better. We expect things out of ourselves, our spouses, our kids, and our family members, but we also recognize that things that in the past are probably going to repeat, and we prepare for those. So prepare to have a great holiday. All right, on to handling stress. Stress is one of the words we use to describe our lives in our current times in 2021. Pretty much every day, all the time, especially here in the United States. It's just kind of what us as adults are using to describe ourselves. Stressed out, life is stressful, kids are stressful, work is stressful. Okay. So of course that's not a place ideally where we'd like to be living in and thinking about all the time and feeling. Comes up at the holidays. So we're going to focus on the holidays, but of course this can be applied to any time you're stressed. Okay, we're going to talk about stress in general, but really what that can lead to is overwhelm. So it's a whole new topic. And then kind of the extreme of that, or where it can go if it's not taken care of, is the feeling of being out of control. Okay, so all 3 subtopics go under this topic today. I want to talk about some practical questions to think on, some thought work to think on, okay, and then some strategies for not being so stressed.
Okay, so our goal here is to handle our stress, and there's not much to do about all the stuff going on around us and the demands, but we have some things in our control, and we want to do some practical things, and we want to do some thought work with things. Okay, so when there's cleaning, cooking, baking, shopping, driving, and making Christmas cards, we have to ask ourselves practically, what can I remove from the list? Can I make the cards simpler? Can I have someone else drive my kids? Can I shop online? Something makes life a little bit easier. Or maybe do something different than getting a gift for everyone we've ever met in our lives. Can I shop for less people? Is that okay? Am I okay with not cleaning as much or paying someone to clean? Am I okay with not cooking as much or having my children help with the cooking and the baking? Okay, what can I remove? Sounds like a simple question, but again, if we are operating out of the fight and flight mode, and we are so stressed out and the emotions are just taking over, we can't stop, take a step back, and look at everything logically. Okay, so just like we did with disappointment, we want to take a breath and we want to take a step back and we want to look at things in problem solving mode. Okay, we want to use our thinking brain. When that leads to overwhelm, if we haven't been able to eliminate something from the stress, then we start to look at how much there is. Too much to do, too many activities, too many gifts, too many parties, too many expectations. Okay, so are the expectations coming from others or from us? And we have to ask ourselves, the expectations I have of what I think I need to do and have to do this holiday, are they realistic? Are they healthy? Are they good? The expectations others have on me, my kids, other adults, people older than me, people in the family, friends, are they realistic? Okay, are they fair? If not, nothing we can do about it. Any expectations coming from others outside of our control, we have to let them expect what they want. Maybe we can avoid some issues by setting a clear boundary and verbalizing it. For example, hey mom, I won't be able to do this activity this year, but instead I hope I could do this. Or hi kids, we're not going to be able to buy this amount because of money, but we are going to buy something instead, or a lot of smaller gifts, or maybe one big gift, and do something fun as a family. So instead, we can do this fun activity as a family. Okay, so what's something we can eliminate? Again, then we feel overwhelmed if we don't. Then not only are there actual physical activities and events and people around us putting the pressure on, making the stress, and there are to-do lists and all this, then it starts to get in our minds and in our brains. We start to see it all. We start to think about how much it is. We start to feel it. Okay, then it gets into our body and we are unable to handle it. So ask yourself, what kind of holiday would you like to have? Do you want to be peaceful? Do you want to be joyful? Probably. Okay, so how can we get there in our bodies and in our minds? Okay, now maybe there's nothing you can think of eliminating, or if not eliminating, there's nothing you can think of minimizing. Okay, so in that sense, we have to just do thought work, because again, we can't control much around us and what other people are doing and the outside exterior circumstances. But internally, what's going on in your mind? What am I thinking when I'm doing these? So here's our thought work. When I'm at the Christmas play, when I'm shopping for everyone I know, when I'm at the work party, the church party, the neighborhood block party, when I'm getting told from my kids or my spouse or family and friends what their expectations are for Christmas, what am I thinking? Am I thinking, I don't want to be doing this activity, I don't enjoy this activity, I don't want to be buying these gifts, I don't have the money for these gifts, I don't need gifts, I don't want to be at these parties, I'm not enjoying myself, I'm not relaxed, okay, I need to meet their expectations, they need to meet mine. What thoughts and what meaning and what extra things are we attaching to these activities? Okay, so you can think while you're cleaning, you know what, Christmas is my favorite holiday, I'm happy to clean the house, I'm not really into cooking and baking, but this is a good tradition that we always cook the honey ham and we always bake grandma's sugar cookies. You could be thinking, I don't like to shop, or I really wish I didn't spend money on this, but this makes this person happy, and I'm going to think in my mind about how happy they're going to be when they open the gift. I don't really want to drive to so-and-so's house, but at least I don't have to spend the money on plane tickets and fly. I'll be willing to drive far instead, or I don't want to drive, a quick distance, but still I just don't want to drive over there. I'd rather just stay at home. You can think, I don't know how many more Christmases I'll have with this person, and I'm glad that I have the ability to drive to their house. Okay, Christmas cards are so difficult. I can't find a good picture of my family. Or you could think, I'm so grateful that I get all these cards every year. I'm so grateful I have all these people in my life that want to send me cards. I'm so grateful that these people are healthy. Okay, So it's all about our thinking. Someone else in your same situation can look at all these outside events and have a different thought. Okay, so that shows us, and what we learn in cognitive behavioral therapy is that our thoughts create our feelings, okay, not necessarily the circumstances. So different circumstances can happen and you can have the same feeling depending on your thought. Similarly, the same experience can happen to a ton of different people, and they can all have a different feeling about it. So if we don't handle stress by handling some of the exteriors, and if we don't handle overwhelm by handling our brains and doing our thought work, then we can get to being out of control. And I know how this feels. Sometimes with just little kids, babies, crying, tantrums, or just that busy time of year, it can start to just spiral. And in my body, I feel I'm out of control. And I look around the house and I want to clean, but I don't know where to start because every room's messy. Or I want to help a child, but I don't know where to start because they're all upset or needing me. They're all saying, Mom, Mom, Mom. There's only so much I can do as one person. And this is when we need to just breathe, okay? So with me, just close your eyes. Take an inhale in your nose and out your mouth. And try to make that exhale as long as you can. And just relax, okay? We do need to breathe sometimes. And again, take a step back and realize, you know what? Let's say I clean all these rooms in the house. Or let's say I meet the needs of all my kids today, okay? So great, right? But if I don't, is it really the end of the world? Can I read a book to my daughter tomorrow? Can I watch that movie with my son next weekend? Can I help whoever needs help with their homework first and answer the other moms, okay? Do I want to work so hard in my job until I'm burnt out and mean to all my coworkers? Do I want to respond to all my kids until I have no more energy for myself at night or my spouse and negatively affect our relationship with my spouse or a relationship with myself or my health? Or do we want to be spiraling out of control? Do we want to clean the whole house but then not sleep that night because we stayed up cleaning everything? Okay, probably not. And maybe you do, but we need to also own up to our actions and realize we are in control of them. And if we make those choices, we have to realize the natural consequence. So after you breathe, and after you can calm yourself down, you can use your thinking brain. And we'll get out of the emotion brain and the fight or flight, and we'll be able to problem solve. Okay, so some ways to problem solve is to make a plan, and to sleep, and to eat, and be healthy. Okay, working out, eating right, making sure we go to bed. We don't need to stay up and have everything perfectly wrapped. The kids are going to rip off that wrapping paper in 2 seconds. Okay, it'd be better for you to sleep and them to remember a well-rested mom and more likely a happy and confident mom than a frazzled and frantic and mean mom. Okay, let's have a plan. Let's think about what can we realistically clean and cook and bake because there's only so much time in the day. And just tell ourselves we have to say no to some things. Plan to say no. Plan to have people disappointed. Plan to be disappointed in yourself, and plan that your kids will be disappointed. It's okay, they're going to be disappointed no matter what. On that same note, they're also going to be happy no matter what. They love Christmas, and the things you think might be disappointing to them might not. Make sure you get to bed. Make sure you're eating well. Make sure you still put in time for exercise because that will help with the stress. Even if it's for just a 10-minute walk, you might say that you don't have time. Of course, we all know we do have that time. I know when I look on my phone and see the amount of hours I have for screen time, it's pretty embarrassing. We all have time for a few minutes of doing something, sleeping, eating, and exercise. For sure, you could take 10 minutes to run on the treadmill or lift some weights, even 20 minutes, I'm sure you have in the day. Okay, if we can eliminate something else, we can find room for that. And then we will end up being calm and confident. And I think at the end of the day, you have to realize something has to give, that maybe you won't cook as much or have as nice Christmas cards or do as much shopping. But if you're calm and confident, your holiday will be better and those around you will do better. Especially if you're a parent, you want your kids to see you happy and enjoying the holiday and not send the message that it is all just stress and overwhelm. And of course, our kids are out of control a lot because they haven't learned how to regulate their emotions. But we as adults don't want to live in this. And if we get to it now and then, it's okay, but we can show our kids how we calm down, how we breathe, how we take a step back to problem solve, how we use our brains to think and not just to react, how we plan and how we eat healthy, how we sleep, and how we exercise. All right, here's where we're going to do the thought work. And this is mainly what I teach, and this is really what's transformed my life and why I chose to become a life coach. This is the number one skill I use with life coaching, and this is how I can help you the most. And this is really what you're paying for, because this you can take into your life and you can do in any of your life at any time with any thought. And we have, 60,000 thoughts a day, every day. And so it's just invaluable. Really, you can't even put a price tag on how you can manage your mind and change your thoughts and change your feelings and just have a better life overall forever. And I hope it helps you as much as it's helped me. I picked shopping for gifts because the A line is always the activating event. So that's whatever circumstance we're in. Okay, so that's what's happening outside of you, and it's a neutral event. It's not an opinion. It's not a feeling. It's just the situation. Okay, and we want to make it as factual as possible because if it's, I'm stressed about shopping or I hate shopping, everyone has a different opinion. We needed to make it apply to all people, universal, factual, simple, okay? And then if your belief, you're having a negative thought about it and a negative outcome, a negative consequence, that's when we want to do the thought work. So if your belief is, I love shopping for gifts, and your consequence is, everything's great, we don't really have any mindset work to do. But we need to look into our minds if the belief is negative. I don't have enough time. So I'm going to challenge you on that. That comes up all the time. And really, at the end of the day, you've gotten everything you needed to done. You have fed yourself and your family. You have gone to work or school. Okay? You slept. You did all the things. You took medicine if you needed. Really, all these things we want to do are not necessarily the things we need to do. Okay? Doesn't mean your life isn't busier this time of year. It doesn't mean there's a lot of demands on you, or maybe things you're putting on yourself and demanding from yourself. But really, you have to challenge your thoughts. And this is one that needs to be challenged. Is there enough time? Okay? So when you believe this, regardless of what you're doing here, okay, we could change the A for anyone. And this is how this looks because we're doing a general class and I'm just doing some general coaching strategies. But why I charge to do the one-on-one coaching is because you can tell me your very specific situation. Maybe for you, the activating event that brings on the belief I don't have enough time is different, okay? Maybe shopping is not the issue. Maybe it's the traveling. Maybe it's the issues with the family. Maybe it's your adult children. Maybe it's the in-laws. Okay, so I really can't help you unless you contact me and we work coach and client one-on-one, and then that's when you can get that one-on-one time with your very specific, unique situation. My job as a coach is to get you to this other thought work. Okay, so ABC 2 is what I like to call it, our second round. Okay, so in the first one, we're in the negative thinking and the negative emotions. And then in the second one, we're in positive thinking and positive emotions, or maybe just neutral. We're not going to always be happy, happy, joy, joy. And sometimes it's just we're willing to undergo something negative, or we're hopeful in a negative circumstance, and we're just trying to do the best we can. It doesn't always have to be changed to a perfect situation, but we want to make it better. Okay? And this is really the power of mind management, is that we can change what our brains are saying to feel. So if you want to feel better and you want to change your thoughts, this is what you can do. Okay? You can start with the C, you can start with the B. I like to start with the C. I want my outcome to be calm and confident in this situation. If I'm feeling like there's not enough time, I'm starting to spin out of control, starting to feel that stress and overwhelm like we talked about, anxious. Maybe I'm just in despair, like there's just not enough time and it's just gonna all stink and be horrible and a bad outcome. So I'm just depressed or sad or down. Okay, we don't want any of that. So I wanna be calm about it. I'd like to be confident in that I'm buying the right gift. I'm gonna have the right amount of time. It's all going to work out okay. So something calming makes me feel good, and then confident about something where I don't feel like I have control makes me feel good. So what can I say? I don't want to be saying and thinking there's not enough time, okay? If arguing in my mind with myself about my amount of time doesn't help, I can say, look, I'm willing to make this work, okay? Maybe it's not going to be perfect. Maybe I don't really like shopping, but I'm willing to shop because of the people I love. I'm okay with not being okay. Okay, I might not enjoy the hustle and bustle. I might not like the crowds. I might not like shopping online, but I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to make this sacrifice and do something not that enjoyable for a good outcome, which is watching the person smile when they open the gift, having that Christmas morning full of presents under the tree, because that is my reason for doing it. I'll be okay with that. It's going to work out. I can use in this scenario, we're using thoughts of the future, of what we want to see in the future and what we're willing to work for the future. And it will work out. We can use thoughts from the past. We can dig in our past and think, was there any Christmas where it didn't work out? No, Christmas always came, and Christmas was always fun. Christmas was enjoyable in terms of gifts. In this situation, we always had gifts. And I'll buy what I need to. In the past, I always got what I needed. The kids and whoever else I was buying for got what they needed, and it all worked out. Okay? So that will lead us to feeling calm and confident. Again, you can put anything in the A here and you can do your own work. And this doesn't just work on the holidays, this works anytime in life. But anything that's bringing you any negative feelings, any stress, any overwhelm, any sadness, depression, anger, frustration, you want to really look at your beliefs. Other people will see the A of shopping for gifts, and that activating event will give them different beliefs and therefore different consequences. Okay, so you want to challenge your beliefs all the time. You want to ask yourself if they're true. And if you're set on them being true and you believe they're true, well, are they helpful? Okay, even a true thought, thinking it over and over isn't always going to help you, okay, in your feelings. So that's the most helpful tool I can give you. I hope you can apply it in your life, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'll see you in 2022. I hope you join me for coaching then.